Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 32 of Legal Tech Live. I'm your host today, Nick Rishwain, today and every day. Nick Rishwain, I've been in the legal tech sector for over 7 years now, and my co-host is with us in audio only today. Ivan, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, sure, Nick. Thank you. Appreciate it. Unfortunately, I'm out here on the beach in Virginia Beach tuning in, and the signal is not good enough to be able to do video and audio. So we're going to just stick with audio. Hopefully, I survive throughout the entire show. Real quick, Ivan Rakelin. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, I am a recovering lawyer. Do not practice, but I still maintain my bar status in New York. And recovering lawyer, diplomat, Green Beret, and startup investor and advisor. And I'm not going to say who accidentally ran 50 miles once. I'm going to say I just ordered a Tesla, and I can't wait for that thing to come in. So,
and for our listeners and replay viewers, I will say Ivan does have a face for radio, which is why I've asked him to go ahead and just keep off of the video portion today. I appreciate you not taking that too hard. We do like to have fun on this show, and we'd like to welcome our guest today is Jonathan Maskew. Am I saying that correct, Jonathan?
You are.
Okay.
Thank you. Jonathan Maskew. Yeah, not quite as exotic as you guys, but we're from Birmingham, England, UK. It's a delight and a pleasure to be on episode 32. I've been watching the past episodes. Last week on the drones was superb. As I say, delighted to be here. A little bit of background. So, barristers chambers is my background for over 25, 30 years, and now consultant to ClerksroomDirect and Clarksroom. And yeah, delighted to be here, Nick. Yeah.
Thrilled to have you. Yeah. And so a little bit about Jonathan. He's, and I'm pulling some of this information from your LinkedIn profile, and then I'm going to give a little background on some of how we got connected. He has been developing the strategic plans, including business development and marketing strategies for professional service providers in the rapidly changing legal services landscape. And he's had extensive experience in the delivery of professional services, as he mentioned, in barristers' chambers for you said going on 30 years. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't look that, but yeah, it's been
yeah.
a long time. Yeah.
Excellent. And
so it looks like you started when you were 5 then. Huh?
He started when he was 5 years old.
That's kind of my old senior clerk is sort of 90 now. He lives not far from me, and we go and have a beer occasionally. But yeah, he taught me most what I know, which is great.
Excellent. And what is your title at Clerksroom?
Currently, I'm the business development director with Clarksroom team. So it's Clarksroom Chambers, ClerksroomDirect, and then mediation. So I cross-sell across those three.
Okay.
ClerksroomDirect, which is their direct access to barristers portal.
So the ClerksroomDirect is who we had really gotten in touch with and who we were having on the show. But yes. Clerksroom that's how I originally knew you, was through ClerksroomDirect.
That's correct.
And that is a online legal portal to help folks. Explain that to us.
Yeah, indeed. So a little bit of background. So ClerksroomDirect was formed in January 2015. So it's quite a new business. But it was based off the back of the change in the regulatory framework for clients, such as yourself, direct clients, to be able to come to barristers directly. Typically, the route would have been traditionally through a solicitor, which then instructs the barrister. But the change in the rules meant that you could come directly. So in the UK, we use the example as you go to your general practitioner or your doctor, and then you could be referred to your consultant at a later stage. So the consultant element or the barrister element is coming forward in that chain. And there are lots of benefits for that for clients. And the ClerksroomDirect portal is the only way to search over 1,000 barristers. We're growing all the time, and to get a quote for a specific practice area, or for advice, or for representation in court. And the direct access route generally is becoming much more used although again, the traditional model is still very, very live, and we understand and use that approach. It's the ability to give the clients a choice, Nick and Ivan. So in the past, you would not know that you could go directly to your barrister. You couldn't go that route. You had to go through the solicitor. And often there's a process which doesn't necessarily need the solicitor to be involved. So, for example, if you've got something that you want advice on, you go to your high street firm. You may well do this in the States. So you go into your lawyer, and you'd expect them to come up with a solution. But for general work, that's fine. But if it's more specialist, then the solicitor would package it up and then instruct a barrister. So my role typically in the chambers over the years has been for the clerk to administer that work between the solicitor and the barrister. You know, again, that process has changed over the years. But the direct route is growing. There is no doubt about that, because clients are becoming more aware of it.
Yes, and I think that Ivan, I'm going to ask this and then jump in after this if you would, but can you spell out for us? So you sent me a video, because as many of us in the U.S., we're used to having lawyers.
Yeah.
And certainly we call them different kinds of lawyers.
Yeah.
You've got a trial lawyer, you've got appellate lawyers, you've got, you know, a variety of different, and what they practice changes.
Yeah.
But the solicitor and barrister idea is a little foreign to most of us who practice in the U.S. and maybe possibly even in other of the English-speaking jurisdictions.
Yeah.
What is my understanding after looking at the video that you shared with me is that the solicitor is sort of almost like your general counsel, general practitioner who does, you know, who can put the paperwork together, maybe write your will or your trust and estate plans, your contracts. But it looks like the barrister is somebody who then would go to trial or hearings. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is. I mean, I think you've summarised that really well, Nick. I think traditionally the solicitor has been
I think Nick needs to be knighted based on that explanation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, indeed. I think the traditional route is that the solicitor has been there to take instructions from the client, and there's always been that divide between the solicitor and the barrister. So the barrister would get the instructions to appear in court. But over the years, again, the framework has changed so that solicitors started to have what they call higher rights of audience in not only just the magistrates, into the Crown Court, the County Court and the higher courts, which allowed them to appear without barristers. So over time, I suppose the division has become less divided, in that barristers can now, if they wish, take you know, a further exam or a further sort of course in training to do, you know, and to conduct litigation. So the barriers are becoming less divided. But yes, you're right. So typically the solicitor, you know, passes it up, and the barrister would then appear in court. But the other benefit of coming to a barrister directly, certainly through the ClerksroomDirect portal, is one of cost. One of the biggest drivers to instruct, you know, solicitor and barrister traditionally over the years has been through legal aid. You know, in the States, you probably have, you know, state prosecutors, state defenders. Legal aid across the UK is becoming much more, I suppose, difficult to be granted, and in certain areas it's almost disappeared. So where legal aid was present and a solicitor instructed a barrister, there was less competition for work, I suppose.
Okay.
With higher rights of audience to the solicitor, and they retained a lot more work, it became more competitive for work. And now that there is less legal aid, and where everybody has to pay a proportion of their legal bill or pay themselves or get insurance, the competition is in some ways healthier, because you can come to a barrister directly. So cost is a key driver. If you go to a solicitor, I suppose similar in the States, you pay a fee, and if it goes to trial, you pay another fee or an increased fee. But you could come in certain circumstances to a barrister directly, and not incur the solicitor fee. It's right to say that it's not suitable in all cases, but for the majority of work, where people are comfortable to take parts of the process themselves, and the barrister has to consider whether that's appropriate or can apportion that properly, then the sort of do-it-yourself or tapping in and pay-as-you-go model will grow because people don't have legal aid. So if you're given the option, and you say, right, well, if I can guide you with a letter, Nick and Ivan, and say, look, well, you come to me for conference, and we'll take a fixed fee. It's not an hourly rate.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do it at a fixed fee. So you know the cost. It's not unlimited, and you agree to do that. Then you pay that fee in advance. That's the route of direct access to the barrister. And then we have the conference, or you have a conference with the barrister, and he provides you with an opinion. And then you would then decide whether you want to go to the next stage with his guidance. Again, circumstances different. I'm summarising.
Mm-hmm.
Typically with the lawyers, as you know, you go back to the lawyer, you do a chunk of work, and then you get a bill at the end of the month. Some of those bills are a surprise. They're significant numbers. And then when you want to go to trial, there's an element of duplication of cost because you're instructing the barrister to do potentially some of that work again. So I think the fixed fee and the cost element are becoming significant drivers. I don't know what that's like in the States for you guys.
We're experiencing some of that. The price points and the costs are being the drivers to I think what you guys are calling is alternative business structures for your law firms. Yeah. That has not come to the U.S. yet entirely, but we are seeing a little bit more of the packaging and bundling of services so that people have a better idea of the costs. And this is, as many of us know, has been driven since the 2007-2008 financial crisis has caused more of the bundling of services for the more routine services. Ivan, do you have something to add here?
No, I'm actually listening in, learning quite a bit as we're moving along.
Yeah, I think the other point too,
as we move into the technology realm of it.
Sure.
Yeah, indeed. I think the other point to make on that, Nick, is that the unbundling is becoming more important, certainly in the UK, and ABSs are they are taking off, but the route for clients to, as I say, tap in and pay as you go is important. There are significant key cost benefits, and ultimately, when we get clients through ClerksroomDirect for barristers, in certain circumstances, they refer work back to a solicitor because it's not suitable, or it's because it's complicated in a different way, but they need conduct from the solicitor. So it's not about cutting them out, it's about giving the client the choice. And we do know that I think, as you say, those price points are becoming ever more important. And significantly so in what we call our company civil work, because no one knows the cost. There's people are saying, well, what's it going to cost me? Mm-hmm. And the margins are huge and significant.
And we have a question that does bring a question, since it is price point specific, and that's what it sounds like. One of the issues that ClerksroomDirect is trying to address, and I do want to move us into BillyBot in the near future here, but one of the issues that you guys are trying to address is essentially what we're calling the access to justice problem.
Yes, indeed. I think the access to justice is something that's close to our heart, as it were, for clerks, where you've seen the ability for the barrister to be involved in cases or not get involved because of the cost.
Because of the cost.
The inference and the perception is that they're expensive, guys, but they're not. We can give fee on a range of work which has never been possible. And that's the benefit to the client. And the client then can make the choice. If they have got a 3-day case in the county court and they want, someone to do that case at, let's just say, £5,000 all in, they can put that, we can get a choice of people, or they can say, can you quote me for those 3 days? So we're not saying, well, it's X per hour. If it's fixed, it's predictable, and you know your legal spend. And we do know that lots and lots of people, I'm sure it's the same in the sector, actually put off from ever taking legal advice because of the inference and the perception of huge cost. And if we can lower those barriers and increase the access to barristers, it increases access to justice. That's me summarising, but typically we do find lots of people are put off, or they're instructing us late in the day because, oh, well, I thought it was going to cost a lot more. And often we can give, I suppose, significant expertise at a realistic figure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that will change, as you say, the price pressure, those price points.
And Mo asked the question. It doesn't sound like ClerksroomDirect is dealing with this issue, but do you guys do contingency fee? Do barristers or solicitors do contingency fee work in the UK?
They do. There's lots more of that, but solicitors typically do. We call them CFAs, conditional fees.
Okay.
Solicitors typically do a lot more of that.
Okay.
Barristers can get involved in that if they wish, but typically it's not common to do that on a direct access basis.
Gotcha.
That's because the regulatory framework predicts that we take fees in advance of the work being done. And that's because we're guaranteeing cost. So
right.
I would say to you, Nick, it's a 3-day trial, it's 5,000 or whatever it is. You need to pay that in advance. And again, if you went to a solicitor and they say, well, we could do that on a CFA, the solicitors have relationships with barristers, chambers and clerks, and barristers will do that work on a CFA, but not on a direct access basis.
Okay.
Or it's very uncommon to do like that, but it can be done. And
okay.
Those who are, I suppose, thinking outside the box a little bit, they are done, but they're not as common as they are in the States.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. So I do want to sort of direct us towards this area that you've been working on significantly, and it's new, and it's certainly a little bit more. You certainly have your direct access legal portal, which is ClerksroomDirect, and helping with this access to justice.
Yes.
But what is BillyBotClerk? What is this all about? Because I know that the bots are the exciting and fun things that are happening in legal technology today, and you guys now have one.
We're incredibly excited, guys, about BillyBot, and yeah, he appears on Twitter and he's creating quite a storm, which is great. But he came off, and I'll just mention some other guys. About last September, I came across the LawBot guys, the Cambridge University guys. I went to meet them, and we were Stephen Ward, who's the MD of ClerksroomDirect and Clarkroom, and we went to see them. We were impressed about what they were doing with LawBot, and we actually said, well, wouldn't it be great if we had our own bot? So there were some ideas thrashed about, and Stephen and I have grown up as young junior clerks in chambers, 30 years apiece, and we didn't know a lot, but we've grown to be, directors of chambers and all those sorts of things. Wouldn't it be great if there was a bot that we could pretend to be now in the current climate, and he works 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, and he would help people select their barrister or mediator on the ClerksroomDirect portal. That's where it started. It started probably earlier this year, January, February. Stephen went away and did a lot of work with some clever guys. So Billy was just pushed very quickly with some proper thought. It's not the finished article, Nick and Ivan. He's by no means, but it's amazing how people will talk to him about whether they need a barrister, whether they want him, to advise or whatever. And Billy is now trawling the ClerksroomDirect portal and will start to populate you with a choice and a selection. So he doesn't give legal advice yet. That might be an ultimate aim, but he's signposting people cleverly, and that's the key. And we do feel that people are relating to him. He's, you know, he's creating his own personality and humour. We've studied in depth how in business these chatbots can change the dynamic of a business, and he's starting to become our marketing arm and our face of ClerksroomDirect. It's quite that wasn't the plan. We didn't really know how he would take off, but we've had conversations with people through Twitter with Billy. You know, when people are watching football matches and tennis, because he's stuck in his server room. You know, he'll tweet back and say, "Could you tell me the score? I can't get to the screen," and we'll engage. It's just amazing.
And I have only had some small interactions with his Twitter feed, but I need to go back and ask him some questions and play with it a little bit.
Is there a BillyBot also? Is there a counterpoint to the BillyBot?
Oh, good question. Could you hear Ivan's question there?
Nick, no.
Ivan, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering if there was a BillyBot version as well.
Is there a BillyBot version?
Well, there will be. We've behind the scenes. You know, we want him to have, you know, sort of relationships with other bots, which is great. All I'll say, guys, is watch this space.
Yeah, this is, and you brought in you brought up a couple of you brought up the LawBot, the Cambridge students. We've had them on as guests previously, and I saw you sent me an infographic on what Billy does in his connections, and two of the bots that you mentioned are actually two. I think Billy is the fourth chatbot, legal chatbot that we've had on the show now. And the other one that we had on the show was robot lawyer Lisa or Chrissy Lightfoot.
Yeah, Chrissy. We're chatting to Chrissy. Again, watch this space. She's a clever lady. We respect her, and there's some clear overlap, and we've got some exciting things coming with that connection. Again, the timing is right, I think, guys. You know, previously we found in chambers that the adoption of artificial intelligence is still very slow. But the legal tech business in the UK has the ability to drive it forward at quite a speed, but to be involved across the globe, it's quite amazing. And we want that interaction with Billy. We want him to be the face of that. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Is Billy available yet? Is he based on the Facebook Messenger platform? Is he available there, or is he strictly on the ClerksroomDirect portal and in Twitter right now?
Yeah. So Stephen is busily building the API connection with the social media platforms. So we're not far off. He does have a Facebook page.
Okay.
And we're hoping that starts to take place in the next 3 or 4 months. But what we want him to be able to do is that clever selection through algorithm of choosing the right barrister at the right place, you know, at the right price, and select and present and give clients a choice. Ultimately, we feel that we will give lots of bits of information to help people make a choice as to whether they actually want a barrister. We don't need people to come onto the portal just fishing for information. We can use Billy Smart to do that. At the point they think, I do need some advice, Billy will steer them to the right person. But ultimately, we don't want to be seen to just produce clients to pay for stuff they don't need, because lots of it can be free online. And we do know that will move forward, and we need to be involved in that. When you look at the Lord Justice Briggs has a review for the online courts process in the UK, and it's already happening. And part of our strategy and my line of thinking with Stephen is that the online court service will force people to place their actions online before they go anywhere else, and they will seek third-party providers to provide options for advice and for guidance. Ultimately, that's where Billy will be. So we're talking to people across the country as to how we can signpost people You know, it's initially, you know, Billy is not charging for those sorts of things and won't. But at the time they need representation or real advice, then we can support that. And it is, go back to that point, Nick, it's about that wider access to justice. And if Billy can help us achieve that with the AI and the way that it's built in, we've got an exciting opportunity. We really have.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, the chatbot community out of the UK, legal chatbots specifically, seem to be far more advanced than in the US. You've got Joshua Browder, who created the Do Not Pay bot, which has kind of been the leading legal related chatbot addressing parking tickets in the UK.
Well, Joshua earlier in the week, and again, watch this space. We're chatting to him. We're trying to help a cause with something that's happened. And he's a clever guy, you know, really smart guy.
Smart guy. Yeah. We're trying to get him on the show as well. But I mean, it seems to be that in the UK, the chatbots, out of the four legal tech companies that we've had on the show to talk about their chatbots, we've only had one so far from the US, which was Tom Martin from LawDroid.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, that's it's amazing when you think how big this. But of course, in the UK, I suppose what's happening is that because it's a smaller environment, people are seeing it as an opportunity. I mean, I know you've had Richard Tromans on. We know Richard well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a conference towards the end of September, Artificial Intelligence for Professional Services, and Billy's going to appear at that as well. And we've spoken to them carefully about it's only a snapshot, but you're right. There's some really smart technology driving the routes for legal tech to be able to offer that wider access to justice at a point where price is ever important for people to tap in. And I think if we create the right model, guys, that inference that it's very expensive and will put people off taking advice. Can we ever tip that balance? Well, I think you can. Mm-hmm. That's the opportunity. Is that if you can get people, you know, online with their gadgets and just tap in so that they know it's no cost to start with. Come and talk to us, you know, and people like LawBot and ourselves through ClerksroomDirect will capture, you know, that opportunity if we're pushing it on.
It's really exciting times in the legal tech space, and how we can use the technology to give wider access to justice. Once we can actually make it really comes down to a part of, I think, of making people aware that these resources are available.
Yeah, I think the awareness is difficult. So we're using smart, I suppose, social media through Twitter, and particularly Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. Because the element of that is it just takes time, but you can be smart about that. So the cost is minimal, but it's the hidden cost where you have to spend a little bit of time. So rather than just, you know, auto tweeting, a lot of Billy's is really focused. So he'll look through stuff in the morning. He likes the AI and the chatbots hashtags. We're creating that, so he's pushing out his daily chatbot newspaper, which is great. And it's not about him; it's about everybody else that's doing it. And if we can create a feeling that social media is part of it, we'll slowly get the message out. And to be fair, that's why we're here with you guys today. That's why we found you.
It is
through social media, and the barriers to do business like this across the globe are just non-existent like they used to be 10, 15 years ago. You know, for a video conference of this quality, you know, on a Saturday afternoon, it's just amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is. Ivan, you got anything for me? Can we hear you okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that listening into everything that you two have been talking about, it makes the legal profession so much more scalable. So right now we have so many lawyers throughout the United States. I'm sure the numbers are similar to maybe in the UK, maybe not. But if you start making these services, it's going to start consolidating, I think, a lot of different legal services. So instead of having to go to your friend and ask, hey, can you refer someone to me to be an attorney? it'll come down to essentially there'll be 2 or 3 main players that are in the legal chat, the chatbot space, for example, for that initial intake.
Yes.
And then there'll be, there'll be the Google, the Amazon that everybody can really refer to. And whether that's good or bad, I mean, it makes it easier for everyone that doesn't have an interaction with the legal profession to be able to refer back to it and say, hey, this company is the one that I need to contact if I have any sort of legal needs to meet. So to me, it's easier.
I think it does make it easier, and it makes it easier to find what you're needing to address the issues that your case is affecting. Are you guys have you seen, this may be outside your realm of expertise, Jonathan, but have you seen any of the major law firms in the UK try and create their own chatbot yet? Because I have not seen that in the US as of any of the what we refer to as the AmLaw 100 or big law.
Yes, you see, there are lots of big law firms talking about the use of AI, artificial intelligence, to cut out huge elements of the grunt work to lower cost. Right. So they will use it, to help them process. But as far as I'm aware, in relation to the bots, that's quite new for them. I think, corporately, they would be worried about how they would work. The beauty of working with Stephen at Clarkson and ClerksroomDirect is that we're running it. There's no one telling us what to do. So when we, we haven't got to go to committee to see whether Billy can tweet out whether he's having fun today, all those sorts of things. So corporately, we're responsible for it. Of course we are. But we can have a bit of fun with it. And that fun is transparent and it's communicated. So I think that the bots will take a little bit of time to come through. I'm sure people are talking about them, but I haven't seen any emerge. Joshua Browder with his car parks, we spoke to him last week, and he, as I say, he's a smart guy. He's ahead of the curve, as are the guys at Lawbar. But I think what Billy's doing is unique. He's the world's first robot junior clerk. That's great. There will be others. But when you talk to barristers, chambers, as I've done, and I'm saying, look, we're introducing Billy, their reaction is mixed, Nick. So it's, well, you're going to do me out of a job. Well, I think you missed the point. I haven't made that point. The bot will be the first capture of instruction. End of story. If he creates that vacuum for instruction, and then we can push it into chambers. We'll become chambers' friend across the globe. We can be the portal to do that, and that's again, we get hugely excited about how we can deliver those leads.
That's fantastic. And I think we do, before we wrap up, I think we need a little bit more clarification for some listeners. What is the role of a clerk in in the UK, United Kingdom? What is the clerk's role in chambers?
So barristers' chambers are a collective of self-employed barristers who come to the building to do business.
So it would be would it be like a bar association in the US, or?
Well, no, we still have a bar association. So chambers, I suppose they'd be like your law firm, similar to that. So they come to work in one place, and they pay a percentage of their income typically into a pot, and that pot pays for the staff.
Okay.
You need people in administration, but typically the guy that person looking after the barrister's diary and allocating work through the solicitors typically has always been known as the clerk.
Okay.
So it's an old-fashioned understanding of clerk to chambers. So my old senior clerk, and some clerks these days are still called clerks. Some of them are called practice managers, practice directors, practice. So there's a new framework of terminology. Ultimately, you're administering their business, but you do the whole clerking framework has changed. So they're expected to do much more business development, marketing, making sure that your solicitors are looked after.
So it's sort of a cross between a paralegal and a practice administrator or practice manager.
Well, Paralegals play a different role, Nick.
Okay.
So
Okay.
typically, the clerks, none of them, well, some of them are. Most of them are not legally qualified. They're business people, or
Gotcha.
they're common sense guys who use their skills to negotiate, to bring work in, and to negotiate fees.
Gotcha.
So that's, they play a hugely important role and have done over the years. But when they develop into the Chamber's directors, typically they have the skills and understanding of how the Chamber's culture operates, a very strange culture. There's lots of internal politics about allocation of work. And typically over the years, Chambers that have grown in size have not just one clerk, they'll have a team of 12, 15, 20 clerks
Okay.
who are specifically looking after a practice area. So they've got a little bit of knowledge. And they may well be people with law degrees, typically not legally qualified, but some are.
Okay, so it is really the business side of
That's right.
the chambers. Okay.
Yeah. And chambers are growing in size, but just going back to the direct access part of it, is that the clerks who are looking and have an eye to direct access are really relationship managers. So you're managing the relationship. Nick, if you came to me and said, I need a barrister to do this, I'd manage and help manage you that process based on trust, integrity, making sure I know my products, my barristers, and choosing the right one for you, and then negotiating a fee with you
Gotcha.
that is appropriate for the work.
Interesting. So really, the barristers in the UK aren't necessarily going out and drumming up their own, what we would call your own book of business.
No, that's changing, and some do. They get involved much more than they've ever done. But lots of them traditionally haven't or don't like to do that.
Interesting.
So the business development roles are, I've undertaken those roles. It's about the relationship management, servicing your clients, and as I say, making sure that you do what you say on the tin. It's a lot of people can overpromise and underdeliver. And in chambers, you've got to have people that actually do things and make it happen. The clerks are part of that process.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I appreciate the clarifications on that. I think many of us. I don't think Ivan. I'm not sure if Mo or I had ever really had it broken down like that. So it kind of makes it clear now what BillyBot, what his role will now be as the bot clerk.
Well, what we're doing with Billy as well, interestingly, Stephen and I chuckle about this. So we're just developing a series of very simple jokes. So you can ask him, if you go on to Billy and say, tell me a joke, he's only got 2 or 3 to play back now. But we do realise that, as young junior clerks, it was quite fun. It's a serious business. But when you start to break those barriers and you gain the emotional intelligence with your client, they trust that element more. So we've researched the personality of bots, and we're going to develop that so that people can relate. It's important through the social media that he plays that part.
And it certainly does, because it was Billy was saying, or you would say, and then Billy would say, I'm looking forward to something about being on the show, and it's like, oh, this is fun, and that is the fun part about it. The bots can be very fun.
Yeah. He likes to use his key expression is cool, because everything's really warm in the server room, but he's cool.
That's great. That's great. Jonathan, is there anything, and Ivan, I don't know if you have any final questions. I know you're having some signal issues there, but do you have a final question, Ivan?
I think this has been very beneficial, I think, for American audience, especially, I think, myself and other attorneys that don't have a understanding of what's going on and the terminology in the UK. So I felt that I don't really have any questions other than I learned quite a bit during this episode, and that's really all.
All right. And
That's great.
I want to say the same. I really appreciate. I know it wasn't all entirely on ClerksroomDirect because there was so much just regular UK-based law
Yeah,
terminology that we didn't understand.
yeah.
So I appreciate you informing us about that. I'm excited about BillyBot. I'm probably going to go spend some time tweeting with him this afternoon just to see how he tweets back. Is there anything that we didn't cover about ClerksroomDirect or BillyBot that you'd like people to know?
Well, I think I'd just like to round up that, the ClerksroomDirect portal is there for people to make sure that they have that choice, guys. It could be people in the States across the globe that have got a legal issue that they think, actually, I could do some real advice. And because the UK law and the UK lawyers are respected internationally, we want to become the portal to do that. It's not an easy gig. There'll be lots of people who frown upon it. Fixed fees are going to happen. They are happening. Price sensitivity is clear. Unbundling important. Fixed costs, budgets, and Billy, as you can see from chatting, Stephen and I are putting all that intelligence over 50 years together into Billy, and he will grow with his algorithms to churn and to do some really key things that we can't do. But the social media part of it will mean that we will capture so much more if we get it right. And we're having fun doing it. We've had fun again today. I'd really like to thank you on behalf of Stephen, who I think he's waiting for the video to come live. He's over in France at the moment, but he sends his regards. And yeah, we've got some really exciting things happening with him, coming through the end of the year.
That's fantastic, and don't be afraid to tag us and or DM us and let us know. Hey, can you share this out? We love to do that. That's kind of the goal of this. How do people get in touch with ClerksroomDirect and BillyBot?
Yeah, so ClerksroomDirect, they can Google ClerksroomDirect, or they can just Google BillyBot, and he'll come up. I mean, there's numerous ways. The website ClerksroomDirect.com. BillyBot's got a little tab on the bottom right-hand corner. You can chat to him. But one of the best routes is Twitter, at BillyBotClerk, at CRD Direct as well for Clarksroom, and we'll respond. We're working smarter than ever, and yeah, we can work, like you've done today, remotely, for clients across the globe. So we're looking forward to it.
Yes, and I can say for certain that ClerksroomDirect, BillyBot, and at Jonathan Maskew as well on Twitter, correct?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, and that they have, Ivan. They've been huge supporters of the show before we even knew them, and certainly huge supporters of what we share on Twitter, and so
right,
that's.
I recognize the name. I see. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they've been
So
very big supporters. We really appreciate that, and they are for listeners at BillyBotClerk, at CRoomDirect, and at Jonathan Maskew, and they're very responsive on Twitter, which is you don't always get that from folks, so it's really good to hear. So that's ClerksroomDirect.com. Our guest today has been Jonathan Maskew, and we really appreciate it. Thanks. You're in Birmingham. Is that where you're tuned in from?
Yes, and we're coming up to sort of 10 to 7 now, so we're off out to have a beer or two this evening.
Excellent.
It's been a great pleasure, Nick, Ivan. Thank you very much for having me. We look forward to the video, and of course, posting it out on social media for the next month or so.
Yeah,
for the next year.
Yeah, we keep sharing them out from our old videos. We'll share it out indefinitely. They'll just come out every once in a while. So with that, everybody, I want to thank you again. I'm Nick Rishwain, and my co-host is
Ivan Reichling here in the shadows. And while you guys were talking and I was listening, I was playing around a little bit with BillyBot. So it's cute. I mean, it's a good initial intake to drive people into the right direction.
Yeah, indeed.
legal advice. So it's a great thing that you're working on, Jonathan. Again, I appreciate it. And I apologize for being in the shadows.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. So, and as Jonathan, our guest today was Jonathan Maskew, and as he mentioned earlier, BillyBot is not the finished article. So stick around. There's going to be more to come. Thank you again, everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you on episode 33. Have a great day.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.